Greetings. My name is Christopher McClung with CTE Teach. Welcome to our long-term parking podcast, where we answer questions from our CTE teachers. And so I have two of my awesome panelists with me, and I'll go ahead and let them introduce yourselves. And we'll start with you, Elena. Just go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience.
Hi, everyone. Elena Hernandez here. I am the program manager for Yucaipa-Calimesa School District.
And I am James Hattar, one of the community recruiters, teacher on assignments at the CRIROP Ed Services Office.
Fantastic. So we have 5 questions that our teachers teachers have asked us, and so we'll kind of go through. Some of this may pertain specifically to CRIROP, but hopefully it's useful for all of our teachers across the state, across the nation, who are getting ready to close down their school year. And so the very first question is, what is AIM? AIM.
Okay, well, AIM is the student information system that we use at CRIROP. When I was teaching, we used it for attendance, grading, checking the competencies, and either adding, deleting, or transferring students from certain classes or class periods. Mm-hmm. It's something that's usually done at the end of your school year for your teacher checkouts to make sure everything's on the up and up when it comes to all the information for the students, competencies, grading, so on. AIM has been around for quite a while. I understand it was supposed to be changed with something else, but right now we're still using AIM as our main student information system.
Yep, that's perfect.
If I might jump in there, we also use it as a way to collect data. It's kind of our depository, and we use that to figure out, to track how, our classes and how many students took them and how many students passed and things like that. So it's a great way for CRIROP to assemble data.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Yeah, like each of our districts have their own student information system. This is kind of CRIROP's information system.
The only thing that AIM does not do is check articulations, and that's done on a separate system in which we do a separate report for that. And most people are familiar with the CATMA system, or CATIMA, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, that's a completely different system when we're talking about articulation as opposed to student information system.
Sweet. Cool, thank you. So our second question is, will we be expecting updates throughout the summer?
Yes.
Yes.
That one. As we get information from our 3 districts, we will definitely be keeping all of our employees in the loop and disseminating as much information as quickly as possible. What we have found is that the quicker we get information out, then more people don't have to wonder. And so yes, as soon as we get information as to what next school year will look like, we will be rolling that out.
Yeah, definitely. And we try to make sure our teachers know to at least check your email throughout the summer. We're not expecting you to work throughout the summer, but definitely at least have your email available so that we can contact you, let you know what changes are going on. So,
right.
Especially when it comes to extra professional development, where that might be valuable to some of the teachers, especially when it comes to collaboration. And that's something that's been talked about. So yeah, checking your email for that information is going to be very helpful, especially those that want to make some extra money on the side.
Perfect. So our next question is, do you have any strategies for going back and reviewing lesson plans that maybe didn't work?
So I think we touched a little bit about this at the TIP meeting. My suggestion is always to not be so hard on yourself as the teacher and realize that it's probably not the whole entire lesson that you need to change. It's probably just 1 or 2 components that you need to tweak or you really need to reflect on. And it usually is period by period. So what went well in first or second period might go differently in third. So it's not that you have to throw out the lesson entirely. It's just that you might have to tweak 1 or 2 little components. And then my other thought was share your lesson plans with your fellow teachers for with your mentor teacher so that they can give their opinion, and maybe they've either taught something similar or they can help you in that regard. But to get feedback from other educators and even your TOAs is a great idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that.
I-
Yeah, go ahead, James.
Sorry, I definitely agree, because what helped me when I first started teaching, first year, I would realize things were not working out. Maybe the students were not engaged. Maybe just the technique was off. So in that case, collaboration becomes really important, especially when you have a teacher that's teaching the same class or in the same industry. So also professional development could give you some good ideas too, in addition to the collaboration. And just going into the internet, do Google searches, look at things like CTE Teach or certain Skillshare or something like to that effect, where you can see what different lesson plans are out there, and maybe that might spark that idea to make that tweak to your lesson plan, or make that little change. And it's not, you're never going to get it perfect the first time. It's always going to be tweaking. You're always going to tweak every year. Things change.
I want to add that you should also be asking for student feedback.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how comfortable teachers are asking for student feedback. So what went well? What would you guys change? What did you like? What didn't you like? So that's really, really important in how well we deliver our lessons, is asking for student feedback.
Yeah, those are great inputs. And I was just going to add that, yeah, I would definitely talk to other teachers, talk to students, get feedback on how you think it's going. Recently, I was working on writing an animation outline, and as my experience of teaching that class, I was working on it and going down this hole that I thought was great. But then when I said, I'm gonna bring in our other animation teachers, and when I brought the other 5 in to look at where I was at, that whole outline changed. And I couldn't be prouder of it, because not only is it something that they wrote, but I don't have to sell it to them because they helped write it, but they also had just input on things that I never would have thought of. And it's going to make it so much more better for students next year. And so I say that with your lesson plans, if there's somebody who's teaching the same lesson or even the same content that you're teaching, collaborate and talk to each other and say, hey, this really didn't work well in my class. What are you doing in yours? So, yeah. I think as teachers, we get trapped in our little islands every so often, and we feel like we're the only ones in the room, and we're the only ones teaching this, and nobody's there to help us.
I would also think back to my favorite teachers growing up, or even my college professors. And sometimes they would do something that I remembered that they did in class, and I was like, in the back of my mind, I'm going to steal that. Mm-hmm. That's a really good idea. I'm going to do that for my class. So sometimes, stealing is a good form of flattery when you're thinking about, some of your favorite teachers and what they did that made you interested, and bring that back.
Yeah, the education world is like the one industry where you could say, oh, I got that from somebody else, and everybody applauds you for it. Yeah. Oh, cool. Thanks for sharing.
Beg, borrow, and steal, my motto. If someone else is doing it, don't reinvent the wheel. Adapt what they are doing and change if necessary, but definitely ask for help from other educators for sure.
Yep. And I've hounded this to our new teachers, but for those who are listening who may not be within our district and are listening in other areas, I learned this from one of my mentors, Julie Barta, which was to calendar everything that you are doing. And so when I started doing that, started writing down what I did every day, and I went back at the summer to see, okay, what did I do this year? What do I want to change? It made it so much easier to look at that process, not have to think, what am I doing tomorrow? Because I already have it mapped out and laid out. So cool stuff. I feel like we could do a whole recording on just this one subject.
Right.
Yeah. So with that, since we can't, we'll move to our next question, which is, any word on the reopening of school next year?
Yes and no.
I was just going to say no.
Yes and no. So I know that, all the districts are, the goal is to have kids back on campus. That I think that is plan A. And if any district can make that happen, they're going to make that happen. When I say that, though, there's so many parameters that have to be in place in order to bring students back. And so we are waiting to hear from our districts exactly what that might look like. And we don't know. Could it be a track A in the morning and a track B in the afternoon, and smaller class sizes or more of the same classes? We just don't at this point. And so as we get news or word, and I don't even know if the districts know yet exactly what's going to happen, we will pass that information on to our teachers. Hence the reason why everybody needs to stay close to email and text so that we can deliver that information. But the goal is always to start school in August and to have kids and teachers on campus.
Yep, perfect. And we've been telling, I've been telling the teachers, at least try to get your first quarter online just in case.
Yes.
So roll with that.
And now they're all rock stars with distance learning. So easier than maybe the start of this pandemic to get their classes online.
Yeah. And James, I don't know if you've heard anything like at the college level about what's going on there.
Well, right now at the college level, I know with some of the community colleges and Cal State, right now they're looking at continuing the distance learning. I know the summer classes will be entirely distance learning, with the exception, and right now they're in talks on how they're going to do this. Say, for example, like the nursing programs or the healthcare programs, which requires hands-on training, and having small groups come in on certain days. So this way they are continuing with the social distancing as they're getting the hands-on training. That right now, those are in talks, but right now for the summer semester or the summer quarter, it's looking to be distance learning until they figure out what's going to be happening for the next quarter or semester, depending on the school. So I think right now it's a waiting game right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and teachers, I would hope that our teachers would remain flexible, because that's kind of how we're running right now. We're just adapting and we're having to remain flexible so that we might not know until the last minute exactly what August is going to look like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think school districts are still trying to figure it out. For my own personal kids, our district sent out a survey, just literally like, what are your ideas? What do you think we should do? And just kind of giving parents that voice of, their opinion. So
right. Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens in about a month from now. So last question, hardest one yet. What do we do with our lives now that school is out? Cue school's out for summer.
I first highly suggest that you just put down, kind of unplug and start taking care of yourself and your family, and do a lot of things that are so not school related. We're all so tied to our job that it's hard to let go, but unplug and find some time to do those things that you haven't had a chance to do, your hobbies and stuff. And you don't have to be planning every single minute of the summer for what's going to happen in August. So I would say take a break and take care of you and your family, and just recharge and decompress and relax, because we're going to be back up and running before you know it.
Yep. Yeah.
Your mental health is very important. So don't think about work. Do something that you haven't done before. Like maybe you want to start learning guitar or ukulele or bass. Go on Fender.com, and they have a 2-month program for educators in which you can learn these things. Mm-hmm. Go for a walk. You know what? Have an outdoor barbecue with the family. Do something get caught up on those TV shows or those movies. I know I made my wife start watching the Godfather series, and she's never seen them. Well, you got time now, so there's no excuse.
There you go.
Very nice.
If you are the type of person that still wants to better yourself when it comes to your job, well, I know a lot of teachers have access to Skillshare, Coursera, edX, a lot of these different websites or apps that are free. Well, you know what? You don't have to do something education related for PD. They have stuff on how to play guitar as well, or how to program, or how to code, or program a computer, or a lot of different things that you might be interested in, learn how to cook, whatever. and they're all in there as well. So in addition to getting caught up on some PD to better yourself in your job, you can also do something to better yourself in your personal life, something just different that's not going to make you worry anymore, at least for that little amount of time. And that comes down to your mental health. So take care of yourself.
Exactly. So one of the things that my wife and I do, which drives her crazy most of the time, but every once in a while she likes it, is we will get in the car. We will choose either north or south, east or west. And then once we choose one of those, like north or south, we'll flip a coin to where north is heads, south is tails. We'll flip, and whatever it lands on, that's the direction we drive until we just figure out where we're going to go. Sometimes we end up in Yucaipa, we end up in the mountains, we've ended up in the desert. We just drive just to get away in the car and just get out, get away from our area, and just go on an unplanned adventure. So.
Yeah,
It's a great idea.
It's true. Just even walking around your neighborhood, I didn't realize till all this started happening, there's 4 parks near my house.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a hiking trail. I was like, I didn't know that,
Yeah.
At the same time, the news starts getting people anxious and gets people worried. Turn it off and do something for yourself. De-stress, you and the family.
Yep.
The news is still going to be there. You can get caught up on that real simple. Just turn it off for now and think about yourself and your family and just de-stress.
Yep.
Just for that little amount of time, it does wonders.
Great advice.
Buy a case of Otter Pops, sit in the backyard, have a contest with somebody. How many can you eat before you feel sick?
There you go.
Most fun ever.
That's a good idea too.
Yeah, my record's 35.
Oh, nice.
You've had 35 Otter Pops?
Yes, Wendy and I did
City?
a contest of how many we could eat before we were done.
What flavor?
I think I was 35 and she was like either 34 or 36, but we both were right around there.
Were there just multiple flavors? Didn't matter?
Yeah, like we take the case of 100,
Yeah.
freeze them all, and then just go to town.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's crazy. What a great idea though. I'm going to do that with your littles when I can.
And you can keep them the entire weekend when you do. They are yours.
And I'll return them to you all sugared up.
Yeah.
That's another distress. Take your kids and dump them on someone else.
There you go. There you go. How funny is that?
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, so that was our last question. Thank you both for being here and giving your input. Thank you so much for just speaking wisdom to our teachers as we're just going through this transition and this unknown, undiscovered country of what's coming around the corner for next school year. So
No problem.
that's it. So other than that, everybody go enjoy your summer. As we already said, de-stress, unwind, start thinking about your kids in a few weeks from now, and then feel free to reach out to us at CTE Teach if you have any questions or whatnot. We're always here to help you. You can find us on Twitter at CTE_Teach and on YouTube and multiple podcast channels at CTE Teach. So with all that being said, that's it.
Thank you.
Happy summer.
Happy summer. Bye, everybody.
Later.